Welcome back to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. This is going to be more of a calm episode compared to last night. And some people might be thinking, well, what happened last night? I mean, obviously you watched the game, so some people might think, hey, they were down 6-0, they were down 7-2, they came back, they tied the game. Good things should be coming from that game, showed some fight. And I do agree to a certain extent, right? I mean, you never want them to lay down. And ever since Donnie Baseball came in, they've been showing a lot of fight. But what I saw last night, I think stems to a organizational philosophy and honestly disaster in the sense of they truly believe they are above the small elements of the game that I think will come back to haunt them in October. And it's shown like the past few Octobers when they're not hitting, they have no backup plan. They have no way to get on base. They don't try to lay a bunt down. They don't try to work the count. They just try to swing for the fences. And that could work over a 162 game season because these players are very talented. However, in certain situations, you have to have another element in your bag. The Dodgers have it. The Blue Jays have it last year. You saw what they did in October. And Bunting is at the forefront. But I think what it comes down to in the organizational philosophy is PFPs as well. Because last year, Matt Strom was essentially ran out of town because he opened up his mouth about PFPs. And he said, we didn't do enough. Dombrowski says, well, he didn't do them. So in that situation, you mean to tell me PFPs were optional? Like, that's a crazy thing to do in Major League Baseball. And then Donnie Baseball implementing bunting to where everyone's like, wow, they're doing bunting. That's so great. I was so excited. But then when you come to think about it, how screwed up is a franchise that we get excited for Major League Baseball players doing what Major League Baseball players need to do? And last night, JT not bunting. My God, and then Donnie Baseball comes out and says, well, I don't want to ask someone to do something they haven't done. And JT's only put down one sacrifice bunt in his career. Now, we did say, maybe that's something we kind of look to work on to where later in the year he can do that. And I do believe Donnie Baseball is going to get his team into that sense. However, I don't care. Do it now. Work on it in the game because you had runners on second and first, nobody out. Orion Kirkring did a hell of a job in the 10th inning to allow no runs to score after the extra inning rules where there's a runner on second base. How do you not win that game? And then they walked Marsh to where it's like you put the bunt down, there's runners on second and third, one out. The whole situation changes for Stoddy. Now it was runners on second and first, one out, where you need a hit to get that run in. If the situations change, Bryson Stott probably locks in, takes a breath and says, all I need to do to win this game is hit a sac fly. And when you're 17-22, 17-21 last night, when you're dying to get back into this race and you do not bunt in that situation, it's unbelievable. We don't have the luxury of just letting this thing ride out. They're going to be fine. No, every game is almost a must win. And that's the philosophy they have to have to where eventually I do think they're going to get to that point because like I said, Donnie Baseball putting the bunting station out, but it just shows you, man, I don't care that the game of baseball has changed in the sense of bunting isn't what it used to be. Use that to your advantage. If other teams aren't doing it, make that your second thing in your bag when you're struggling in October, which we know they're going to do from the offensive side because they get to swing happy and they want to have that big moment. Just lock in and do the fundamentals. And not only JT, I think it's a whole team thing because Trey Turner not laying a bunt down to 2018 when he's one of the fastest guys in Major League Baseball, that's crazy work to where if he's not bunting every day before the game, if JT's not bunting every day before the game, that's crazy work to me. That is something that needs to be addressed now. Work on it pregame, but if another situation arises in May, I get it, it's early in the season, how are you going to have game experience if you never do it in the game? So I think JT should have bunted regardless last night, but I do think eventually they're going to figure that out to where they're going to start trying that, and they better just from the fact of we know how this offense gets. They get so cold so fast to where wouldn't it be nice to see one go down, Trey Turner lays down a bunt, Kyle Schwarber, and I know Kyle Schwarber is probably the one guy I never want bunting. However, if he's struggling in October, right, and they have the shift on to where the entire third base side is open, it only takes one in playoff baseball or a big game to kind of change the narrative and get the hitters starting to feel, better about themselves. If you keep striking out, striking out, striking out, weak fly balls, weak ground balls, lay a bunt down. And everyone on this team needs to bunt. Let's go through all the batters, and there's not one of them that shouldn't bunt. Like I said, Kyle Schwarber is the one guy, probably never won bunting, but it should be in his arsenal just in case. Bryce Harper, kind of the same situation, but Bryce Harper's laid some bunts down in his career. He's not opposed to it. So props to Bryce Harper. Jolis Garcia, if you're struggling, you should be able to bunt. Or this is more in the situation if the same situation occurs, it's a 10th inning, you already let the runner not score to where all you need is one to score, runners on second and first, one out. You got to bunt in that situation. Brandon Marsh has already implemented that into his game. Trey Turner, like I said, he should be number one on the sense of bunting. The fact that he hasn't done it since 2018 is unforgivable. Alec Bohm, super slow. However, in that situation, if he comes up in the 10th inning, runners on second and first, he's probably going to ground into a double play to where learn how to bunt. Justin Crawford's already done it. Rafael Marchand, I send him to the gulag. JT Reyes, Mundo Sosa, Otto Kemp, all those players. Anyone on this roster should be able to bunt. And I really hope the Phillies implement that because this offense is not that good. They're not bad, but they're not that good to where they should employ every single advantage they can. I do believe Donnie Baseball is going to put that into them, but what I really want him to do not be afraid to do it in the games. Because in that situation, you're relying on JT to hit a long fly ball, which is feasible, but JT is also a double play merchant. Alec Bohm's a double play merchant. Make sure they can do a job. It takes the pressure off the next batter like Bryson Stott because everyone says, well, Bryson Stott popped up, the same situation would have happened. Absolutely not. You got to realize the mentality of the batter on the box due to the situation. I firmly believe if there's runners on second and third, Bryson Stott either hits a hard ground ball through the hole because the infield will be in, or if he just hits a fly ball to the outfield, the game's over. So I just wanted to come on and talk about that because, yes, they came back. Yes, they showed fight, but when you lose and there's certain elements that I feel like is the DNA of this team that needs to be changed in order for them to be successful in the long run, I got to call them out on that. Let me know what you guys think. Am I overreacting, or is this something that the Philadelphia Phillies absolutely need to do if they're going to have success from the offensive side? That'll do it for this episode of Baseball for Maniacs, and as always, go Phils.